Every year for the last, let's say 5 or 6 years, I've been going to Diani. But for whatever reason, I cannot make a video about Diani, and I don't know why. And yet, Diani is in my top, I think, 4 destinations in Kenya. So I'm going to do this video differently. Instead of just showing you all random things or telling you about things you can do in Diani, I'm going to tell you about places that I've personally visited, places that I've personally slept in, and unfortunately I'm not very good in documenting food because I'm not like a very huge fan of food. So I'm going to point out just a few places where I've also gone to have food in Diani. And yeah, let's get started. If you've never been to Diani before, there's a very popular stretch of road called the Diani Beach Road. That is where most of the things are, because it's one very long road, maybe stretching like 10 kilometers, and then after that is the beach. So that is where all, let's say, the high-end hotels are and most of the activities are in Diani. So I'm going to order the things that you're going to do starting from the farthest, so that you can start from the farthest end, and then you can slowly use a piki, that is a motorbike. And the first place that I'm going to mention is called the Kayaking Nondo Sacred Forest. I've visited Kayaking Nondo twice before, but I never got access because I went too early and there was no one. So it's better to call them in advance if you're planning on visiting very early, let's say around 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. If not, anytime past 9 a.m. you can just show up and there'll always be someone who is ready to assist you. And yeah, Kayaking Nondo Sacred Forest is something which is under the Museums of Kenya. It's managed by the Museums of Kenya, and it's actually a forest, one of the probably last remaining forests in the coastal region of Kenya. And it also has a very huge cultural link with the communities. So there's several tribes along the coastal region, like the Griamas, who they've been using this forest for centuries as a place of worship. Therefore, when you visit this place, even one of the things that they do is they give you like a shuka. I don't know what shuka is in English. So something to cover your waist with. That's how you're supposed to dress before entering the forest. And inside there's like more than 300 different species of trees. And if you're a bird watcher, then you can visit very early and you can get very good shots of birds very early in the morning. In fact, inside this forest, they say there's the oldest tree in Kenya, which is, I think the guy said, 800 years old. So I never managed to see it, but definitely something which you can, try and find, because the forest is very huge. When I visited, I only did a small part. But yeah, there's a very huge trail that you can walk in, which will take you like almost 3 hours, and you can see all these different things. Yeah, you can get the guide right at the entrance. And it's good to have a guide because it's going to show you all these different ways people at the past used to like make medicine using different trees. And you can also see the remains of where the people from the villages will go to pray. So definitely Kayaking Nondo Sacred Forest is a must visit when you go to Diani. The entrance at the Kayaking Nondo Sacred Forest is only 500 shillings, which I think is very affordable. And then you're going to tip your guide for taking you around, so I highly recommend you do that. And yeah, I'm going to show the prices for foreigners in dollars. I'll post it somewhere here. Then after that, just a few kilometers ahead, maybe 7 minutes on a tuk-tuk or on a boda. So it's almost very closely linked. That's where there's the Bora Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, if you've ever wanted to walk next to a giraffe, definitely this is a place where you can do that. because there is two resident giraffes which roam around freely. And yeah, anytime you go there, whenever they are feeding, you can be able to feed the giraffe at very close range. And I mean very close range because it's right next to you. But of course you have to be careful so that it doesn't knock you down. After all, at the end of the day, these are wild animals. The entry charges for the Bora Wildlife Sanctuary is only 750 shillings for Kenyans, and it's $22 for foreigners, so that is people who are not from Kenya or who are non-residents. And yeah, I mean, it's a very good place to visit. There's also places where you can camp, and they also have a place to sleep if you want to do that. So definitely something to consider. Apart from the giraffes, there's also several other animals. There's crocodiles, there's turtles, there's ostriches, and actually the ostriches also walk next to you. I think there was a warthog. I think there's a warthog somewhere, which also roams around. And what other animals are there? Yeah, there's peacocks and several other animals which you can see. So definitely, Bora Wildlife Sanctuary is a must visit when you're in Diani. Moving on to number 3, and yeah, you'll notice that there's actually several places of wildlife in Diani, and that will be the Alibabas conservation. Now, these guys have been doing a great job in Diani because Diani is a very busy place. There's so many tourists, especially during the high season. And we have to remember there used to be forests in Diani, and one of the famous animals that existed there were the Alibabas monkeys. These monkeys are currently endangered. I think they're almost on the red line of facing extinction. I might be wrong, but yeah, they're endangered. And one of the problems that arose from all the tourism is there were so many accidents of people hitting the monkeys and then they just ran away, because now after all the trees had been cut down, it means the monkeys have to cross the road. So what the Alibabas conservation guys did is they created things that look like nets, which they hang between trees, and now it means the monkeys can cross over. And yeah, when you're in Diani, I think if you're driving, you'll notice the ropes for the monkeys. So obviously, be on the lookout. You might see some monkeys cross. But yeah, Alibabas conservation, now this is a place where they treat any monkeys they found that are injured, or they take care of very young monkeys maybe that were abandoned, and then once they are okay, they release them to the wild, because Alibabas monkeys don't do well in any sort of like a zoo area. So they release all of them to the wild. They only have, I think, one monkey in their residence, and that was I think it was an albino monkey. So it doesn't have the skin color that is common with the normal monkeys. Therefore, it was cast out of I think it's a group or a clan. I can't remember the exact word for it. But yeah, it was cast out. So therefore, this monkey cannot survive in the wild. Therefore, they have it in there. And honestly, it's a sight to see. You should check it out. But yeah, the place, it cost only, I think it was 500 shillings for Kenyans. I don't think they have any other pricing for like people from different countries. So again, definitely a place to visit. And the last location that also has a lot of wildlife will be the Shimba Hills. Now, Shimba Hills is not really in Diani, but it's only like, I'd say 40 minutes drive, but definitely something to go and check out if you have the time. Although now this is a proper national park, therefore you need to make prior arrangements and you need a proper car, like a car that is at least 4x4, because yeah, the terrain is very tough, especially when it rains. But yeah, Shimba Hills has so many elephants. Again, and well, it's a hill, so therefore it has a viewpoint where if you go to the top, you can see pretty much the whole of Diani, and yeah, further ahead with the Indian Ocean. It's very spectacular, and it's, I think, the only national park in Kenya that has the rowan antelope. If not, I'll put a link of the correct name of the antelope. But yeah, it has the rowan antelope. That is the only place in Kenya where you can see them. Very hard to spot because the park has a lot of vegetation, but yeah, if you have enough time, move around and you'll definitely be able to spot it. Now we are done with the wildlife. Now let's move to the most popular thing that everybody goes to do in Diani, and that is walk along the beach. And maybe that is why I've never done a video, because walking along the beach, especially in Diani, is very, very relaxing. So you sort of just want to keep to yourself, or if you're with other people, basically people just want to relax. Therefore, for me, I think that's why I've never been able to do any video about Diani, because I'm always in that state of mind where I just want to relax. And yeah, walking along the beach, I'd say, is a perfect thing to do, especially when the weather is good. The last time I was there, it was raining, it was cloudy, but the best thing about that was the entire beach was pretty much empty. After walking along the beach, another thing which is very popular for people to do is to take the glass boat that takes you, further inwards in the water. And yeah, those boats, the pricing is usually here and there. It depends on how good you are at negotiating. So it can be 300 shillings, or it can be 1,000 shillings. But also, if they're desperate and they have already many people, but they just want to cram in more people, then they give you a better price. Or you can just be like, I have 200 shillings, and I'll be like, okay, whatever, hop on. But yeah, it's something to do. It's something very common, and again, it's also cheap to do. So why not? You can get on the boat, and then they'll try. The guys on the boat will try to tell you about all these different things about Diani, and then they'll also help you spot fish, and then they'll take you right inside to the waters, and then there's a place where they'll stop, where you can alight from the boat, and then you can swim, or you can just relax. Yeah, it's good fun. So I highly recommend you also to do that. And it's a cheap thing to do and easy. It's something you can do with kids. I'm sure if you have kids, they love doing that. So definitely consider doing that. Then when you are at that place, once you alight, while you're still in the water, there's people who will come with jet skis. So again, this is something that I've done, and it's very, very fun. If you've never driven a jet ski, trust me, the experience is a 10 out of 10. You should definitely do it. Now, the pricing for jet ski is a bit expensive. It's like 2,500 shillings, that's like $20 for only 15 minutes. So yeah, that is very expensive, honestly. And the worst part is you're not on your own, so you also have to have like the owner of the jet ski or one of the guides of the jet ski behind you to guide you on how to drive it. But it's still a thrilling experience. If you love adrenaline, try doing that. Of course, there's other water activities you can do, like kite surfing, or you can snorkel, but I've never done those. So like I said, I'm only going to talk about the things that I've done. But yeah, there's so many other water activities to do in Diani. You can research that. Now, back on the mainland, what else you can do is you can visit I think it's called Alibabas Cave. I'm assuming that's the correct name. And this is a restaurant which is, number one, it's very fancy, it's very expensive. The food costs like, I think it's like 4,000 shillings for seafood and stuff. I mean, you can go and just have a drink and leave, but if you want to have the full experience, ordering the drinks and the food, they specialize a lot on seafood. It's going to cost you like 4,000 shillings. That's like, let's say $30 per person, which by Kenyan standards, that's a lot of money. But again, if you're going for the experience and you can afford it, try and visit the place. And yeah, this place is basically a restaurant that it's inside an open cave. I don't know if that description fits it well. So yeah, you go under, and then there's a restaurant to the setup, but then if you look up, it's like the coral cave that is surrounding you. So a place for, if you love pictures, if you love Instagram and things like that, yeah, definitely a place to check out. Another place to visit, but I've only been there to eat, that is the Nomad Beach restaurant. Now, again, the food is more on the higher end side. I think the last time, I can't even remember what I ate when I was there. But yeah, it's a good place to visit and chill if you're, let's say, a group of friends. Yeah, you can visit, have some food, and then the front side is the ocean. So basically you're seated on the front side of the ocean. So something else to add to the list. Yeah, I've said the word definitely like 100 times. But yeah, these places are good. Now, we're done with the activities. Now let's talk about places to sleep. And yeah, I'm looking at my notes here, and I've only slept in 4 places in Diani. So I'm going to start with the most expensive, going to the, I'd say, most affordable, or actually it's cheap. Mostly when I go to Diani, what I do is I stay in Mombasa, because in Mombasa, maybe I have friends in Mombasa, so I'll just stay at their place, and it's, cheap. And also there's so many accommodation in Mombasa, because Mombasa is probably the most touristy place in Kenya. And from Mombasa, commuting to Diani, which is something I think so many people don't know, is it takes you only an hour, because from Mombasa, you'll go to the ferry point, take the ferry, cross over to the other side, and then right at the other side, there is matatus. So take a matatu, you don't need a taxi, take a matatu that will take you to Diani, and it only takes like 35 minutes from the ferry point to Diani. So if you're in Mombasa and you want to do like a day visit to Diani, it's very easy to do. If you leave early, let's say around 10 a.m., it means by 11:30 a.m. you will be in Diani. You can do all your different activities you want to do in Diani. And then in the evening around, let's say 5 p.m., again you take a matatu to the ferry point and then cross over back to Mombasa. Therefore, it's not a must that you sleep in Diani. Now, back to the accommodation. The first place is the Baobab Beach Resort. Now, this is quite pricey. I think it costs like $150 to $200 per night. Therefore, that is way on the higher end side. Well, not very much on the way higher end, because Diani is crazy. You can find places that will charge you even like, $400 or $500 per night. So it depends with what you want. Personally, as long as there's a bed and it's clean and there's security, I usually don't care much about where I want to sleep. So that is my bare minimum. I can sleep in a very cheap place or a fancy place. It depends with the situation. But yeah, this hotel, again, very fancy. This is the beachfront. The food is good, and it's a place I'd recommend if you're going for like a vacation with, let's say, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whichever, or you just want a staycation kind of vacation, the kind of vacation where you just want to go and relax. So if you book that place for like 3 nights, you won't be disappointed by it. And then the next place you can sleep in, which is in my notes, but I try to find information if they're still online or not, if they're still functioning or not, is the Bidi Hotel. Now here, I paid, I think it was 3,000 shillings or 3,500 shillings. And they give you like a small cottage, but then they also have another side where it's like a hotel. So I took the cottages instead. I think, yeah, it was either 3,000 or even 2,500 shillings per night. Again, the beautiful thing about this place is there's a beachfront, so you won't have to move around a lot. And I'll tell you in a few why this is sort of important. The next place that I've slept in is the Sunrise Apartments. Now, this is the place that I've slept in most recently in my recent trip of my journey to the southernmost point of Kenya. I got this place using booking.com, and it's basically just a house that someone has converted to, like a hotel or sort of an Airbnb. And the cost of it was, I think it was 3,600 shillings for 2 nights. So that is like 1,600 shillings per night, which again in dollars, that's like $11. So that's very affordable. But now the problem with this place is, since it's not along the first road, that is the beach road that is most popular and very close to everything, it's further inward. Not so far. I mean, again, on a motorbike from there to the beach is only 15 minutes. So it's not far. But since it's not close to the road, that's why the pricing is cheaper. Like the further you go, the cheaper it gets. And yeah, it was very nice. It was clean. Will I go there again? Definitely, because it was comfortable enough. So yeah, if you're on the budget side, that's something you can consider. If you are even on a more budget side of things, you can try the Diani Backpackers Hostel. I went to this place, I think it was in 2019 when there was the Kenya census was happening. So a lot of places were shut down actually in the entire country because of the census I think it was only for a day or 2 days. But yeah, the Diani Backpackers, especially if you're someone who just wants to get started traveling and you're, let's say, too introverted, I'd recommend actually doing a hostel, because it's going to put you on your limits. So Diani Backpackers, they have different hostels. There's one for female only, and then I don't think they have a male only. I'm not sure. But yeah, they have a female only, that one I'm sure. And then I think let's assume they have a male only, but they also have a general hostel. So this is mixed for male and women. And yeah, actually when I went there, no, I don't think they have a male only, because I only booked the mixed hostel. And the hostel was very beautiful. There was one huge tree in the middle of the hostel, and then there's beds around it. This was very cheap. I think it cost only 600 shillings per night, which, let's be honest, that is actually very, very cheap. So that is what I probably prefer doing, booking something very cheap, and then I can waste some money on other things like eating expensive food that I don't like or doing like, expensive activities. But yeah, backpackers hostel, and another beautiful thing about it, they have like a swimming pool, and again, it's also a very good place to meet, like-minded people from like all over the world, because when I was there were people from, I don't know, there was someone from France, Italy, there was a guy from Ghana, there was a guy from Zimbabwe, there was people from the US. It's very, very multicultural, and yeah, it makes for good stories. So I highly recommend a hostel. If you have your own camping gear, you can camp at that hostel, and they charge, again, I think it was 500 shillings, maybe now it's 600 shillings. So again, that is very, very affordable, which if you're a camper, definitely carry your camping bags. Actually, another place you can also camp is the Bora Wildlife Sanctuary. Yes, they have a campground, and they charge, I think it was 1,000 shillings if you have your own gear. If you don't have your own gear, then they'll rent it out to you for another like 1,000 shillings, which, Diani is very hot, so if you can just carry your camping gear, you don't even have to carry like a camping bed or a sleeping mattress or heavy covers. Just the tent, you'll be fine. If you're driving and you want something to do quickly, definitely just throw your camping tent in the back and you're good to go. And that brings me to the end of all the places that I have visited personally in Diani. Maybe another time in future, now that I've done this video, maybe I'll have the interest to do a video while walking around in Diani, but yeah, not anytime soon. And there you have it. See you in the next episode.